Hi, and welcome to today's edition of Yes, Honey. I am your host, Janine Davis, and today's episode is really special to me. I'm talking to my very own personal hairstylist, Derickus Crawford. He is a master hairstylist to celebrities like Fantasia and so many more. He's known worldwide. I mean, we call him the Hairslayer. People travel from across the country just to have Derickus lay his hands on their hair. He is the owner-operator of Derickus Crawford Signature Salon. With over 100,000 followers on Instagram, Derickus is clearly an entrepreneur. He even has his own hair product line. Born and raised right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. For someone who has labeled himself as quiet and an introvert, Derickus had a lot to say in this rare interview when I got him to open up. I introduce to you Derickus Crawford. Take a listen and learn.
Yes, honey.
Welcome to Yes, Honey.
Yes, honey.
A podcast celebrating people who are healthy, happy, and whole.
Thank you for every single day that you give us an inspiration word.
Yes, honey.
It's inspiration in a word. And now here's your host, JD, the diva.
No one can do that yes, honey, like you. Do it, JD.
So give me that yes, honey.
Yes, honey. Yes, honey. Yes, honey.
Oh, my gosh. Derickus, so I have known you for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when I met you. Do you remember meeting me?
I can't say I do.
Thank you for keeping
Because you know
it
you started out going to V, I think.
I started out going to your aunt.
Yeah.
And I saw you in her shop, and I could not understand why it was always packed in your little room. Like you just had you in that one room, and then it would be, and when people would come out of your room, they would look like completely different people. And I was like, I want to go to him. And so I did.
Yeah,
So
turning
thank
these
you.
women out.
You did. Basically, you did turn them out.
Come in the room one way, you leave out another.
So that's the thing that was so crazy about your skill set. It's like all this power in your hand, and you just as quiet and shy. Have you always been like that, Derickus?
Yes, I really have. My mom raised me with like that slavery mentality, be seen and not heard. Yeah, and so I became good at being seen and not heard if I didn't want to get my head knocked off.
But you cannot be this successful and have that same mentality. Like, how does that happen?
You can, because doing hair is all about being seen. And what I do with my hands is being heard. And sometimes I think a part of my brand has became the mysterious part of me, the mystique. You know, most people say that that's the mystique part about me is because I don't do so much talking. Sometimes I feel like people do so much talking. And I'm not saying that I like being quiet, but I think there's a balance. Mm-hmm. And in my case, it has worked for me. That's why I tell people don't allow what you've been through to hinder where you're going, because any obstacles that you may have inquired in the beginning can actually work for you.
Yeah, that's right. So let's talk about some of those obstacles. So have you always been shy, like in high school? What were you known as? Because, you know, everybody has that person that, okay, this is the fly person, this is the talkative person, this is the popular person.
So the funny thing is like in school, like I was very popular. Like people, you know, they did. People knew me. You know,
They knew you because of what?
And I'm gonna tell you what it was. Even in middle school, it was because I was attractive, and that worked for me. So I had like little things that was working for me, and in some kind of way, I would always kind of make it to the inner circles. I wasn't even trying to.
He's so modest.
You know? The funny thing is, this is why I really do believe that when you're called to be a leader, you don't have to do anything.
That's right.
You really don't. You don't have to force your way. God will always make a way. And sometimes I think there's that scripture in the Bible that say, be mindful to walk in and walk straight to the front, because somebody else more important might come into the room and they might ask you to get up. So it's better to wait to be offered. Janine, why don't you sit here?
Yeah.
You know, instead of you just taking a seat.
I know. It's kind of like the mentality of, and I say this to people too, I would much rather, when I walk in a room, command attention as opposed to demand attention. Right. So same thing is what you're saying.
For some reason, I did stuff that I'm saying now, and I couldn't have said then because I had insecurities then, and it was because I was so quiet, and I could go in a room and not say anything, but people would notice that I was in there.
Wow.
People say that to me now, and they say, "You're the quietest person in here," but still loud.
Right. You're the quietest loud person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And that says something. So do you believe that that is God's hand on you?
I know it's God's hands on me. God has always had his hands on me. And it took me years to realize that I was special, that I was different. I remember in my household, my mom dated a guy for 18 years that we didn't get along too well.
18 years. Wow.
And it's because he struggled with religion. And sometimes I felt like my mom struggled with it also. Mm-hmm. And my mom come from a religious background. And with me, it was just in me. And I remember one night, my mom had some friends over, and they were in the front, and they were talking about Jesus. They were talking about the Trinity. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I actually feared my mom. And so...
most black kids do.
But sitting in that room, hearing them talk about Jesus just didn't sit well with me. And was this day, I just made up in my mind that I have to stand up for what I believed in. I had to be about 13. And
okay.
I walked out there, and I started preaching. I just started going at it. And I started crying, and in a real still voice, my mom told me to go to my room, and I stopped and went to my room, and I sat in there prepared to get a whooping. Mm-hmm. But my mom never came in there, and I think that was the moment my mom realized I was chosen.
Wow. So you basically delivered a sermon to adults. Mm-hmm. You were 13.
Just really went in there talking about what I believed,
right.
what I strongly believed in.
And that
what
did you believe?
That God was real, that Jesus was real, that I'm not ashamed of this gospel of Jesus Christ. And I was willing to stand, and I did. And sometimes I look back over my life, and I even wonder, who was that guy?
Who was he? I know. So that was when you were 13. So backtrack a little bit. When we were talking about you being in high school, you were the popular, quiet guy, shy. And so did you always know that you were gay? Did that ever come up?
This is the thing about that. And sometimes I hate when people bring that up because I'm Derickus first. And I think we're living in a world now where people want to get so personal with who we are. Yeah. And I have this thing like this. No matter what I am, I'm not going to allow anybody to put me in jail, because then that's the label that they're going to put me. That's the label they're going to put on me, and then they'll see that before they see my gift.
That's right.
You know, when it's all said and done, I'm Derickus. And
I have to say, honestly, that's who you are to me. Like, I don't see you as, oh, he's gay. I see you as Derickus the Hairslayer, who happens to be gay, and it's such a secondary kind of thing.
But I have to say this, because I've never. It's like the world sometimes had to be corrected. Like,
correct us.
I've never made no announcement.
Right. You don't.
And so I'm Derickus. And I make that known. I'm Derickus. I'm not Derickus gay. I'm not Derickus straight. The same way that Joe is not Joe straight or Joe gay or Joe bisexual. And I think that sometimes we get these things confused. And if you don't stand up for yourself, it's not about what they call you, it's what you answer to. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you have to demand the respect. You know, if I was anything else, nobody would. It wouldn't be a conversation. I listen to plenty of interviews, and I listen to plenty of things in my life, and people don't talk about this kind of stuff. But when it comes to certain people, and that's why I demand, respect me first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know me, because when you know me in my regular day-to-day life, people see. And I know this because this is not something I make up about myself. Mm-hmm. People see me, they think of God. When I did the thing, the black girl thing that they did, and they brought in all those speakers and they called and asked me to do it. And I said, no, I didn't want to do it because I thought that everybody that was on the platform was way past me, and I felt like I wasn't ready. Part of me felt intimidated.
Okay.
And so I just didn't want to do it. And I fought with it. And I just kept saying, God, I don't want to do this.
Right.
They called me back and asked me to do it again. And so I told her my reasons why I didn't want to do it.
Okay, why?
And I just told her that I just didn't feel that this was the platform for me.
Okay, gotcha.
What made me change my mind is she said to me, let me tell you why we wanted you. She said, we were sitting here and we was making a plan. We were coming up with the layout. And she said, then we made up in our mind, we need God in this in some kind of form, fashion, or way. And then that's when my name came up. Yep. We need Derickus. And that was the thing that made me say, I'll do it. Yeah. Because when you think of me, think about what I represent.
That's right. We do.
If I do anything else differently, then let that speak for me. But I've heard somebody say, let the work I've done speak for me.
That's right. I get it. Well, I mean, and the only reason I bring up being gay, I mean, just to keep it real, because like you said, you're attractive. So someone like me who may not know that you're gay, you know, you're like trying to holler. So what do you tell them? Because I know you've had that, Derickus, now. You work with all these women. You have women customers. The majority of them are.
I would tell them the same thing that I would tell anybody that's attracted to me.
What you say?
Whether it goes back to whether I'm attracted to you or not, or I want to be with you or not. That wouldn't matter who it. That wouldn't matter who it is. You know.
Do I
whether
like you?
You're gay, straight, bi, whatever you are. It depends on if when you approach me with what you're trying to offer. Yeah. You're laying out whatever your agenda is, and then I'm going to let you know how I feel about your agenda. And I'll go according. But I have a very strong demeanor about myself, and people just don't come up to me. And my strong demeanor is not aggressive, it's not rude, but it works.
They don't think they can step to you. That's probably what it is. Intimidated. Be honest.
I think that's a little part of it, but I think there's a God factor about me, and people just it's something about me that just make people. It makes people respect me.
I feel like I need to button up my blouse right now.
And I'm serious. Most of the time when I'm somewhere, I don't go in and do anything. I mean, for those of you who know me, you know I have tattoos. You know I wear earrings. Yeah. You know I'm very fashionable. I don't go out. I don't walk around in a suit, carrying the Bible, doing anything that's saying that I am a Christian. I'm this traditional Christian. Right. But there's something about me that make people say. We was in a salon just last week, and my client daughter stopped by. And they were talking, and she cursed. And my client said, "Hey, we don't do that around him." You know, even with some of my friends, they get there, they say, you know, we don't do it. I know when the party can start when I leave, and it's nothing that I'm doing.
Right.
You know, it's just who I am.
Okay. You're not Kirk Franklin, huh? Because he gave his son a good cuss.
Well, let me say this about that, and I think we all get away. But this is the thing. I can relate to it because my mother don't curse me out plenty of times, and I'm a leader, so I'm a man of God all the way. Yeah. I trust God, but let me tell you something. To be honest with you, I think social media is a bully. I think you cannot even be authentically who you are because you're so scared of what social media. Everybody, if you're not in that household, you're not raising that child, you have not been there. You don't get the right to put your mouth on it. Yeah. Social media has given people the right to judge situations that they know nothing about. Right. And everybody who's judging those situations, they got situations in their household.
Absolutely.
Put their life on a pedestal and let the world judge, and then everybody's going to have a problem with it. Yeah. You know, I've been there, seen it, done it, you know.
Well, let's talk about that. Since you bring up social media, the Instagram life. So I obviously follow you on Instagram. Do you feel like that is an accurate depiction of who Derickus is? Fly.
Most people say that what they see is what they get. I don't show a lot of my personality. Yeah. Which is when you see me, I don't show a lot of my personality.
You show your work though. Like,
you have to really, you know, Janine, you have to know me.
That's right.
To get the funny me, the silly me. Yeah. Like you could bring one other person around us and I shut all the way down.
You do. It's amazing how you do that. And so here's the thing too. So when I get my hair done with Derickus, sometimes we have a dance off. Yeah. And you will start singing.
Cause see, you bring out the silly part of me. You know, you
it's already in there, Derickus.
She walks right in. 1, 2, 3.
kick it, turn and give it to me.
I was Janine came in the other day and I was being real serious, and I was on a phone call and she kept saying, "Well, hello." I said, she was like, "Well, I'm sitting here." You know, she was not letting me be in this serious moment. I was trying to have this serious moment.
Hello, how are you doing?
Frustrated, and that's just how she was doing.
Oh my gosh.
She was not letting me stay in that moment.
That's right. And sometimes you need that. You need that nice blend, that mix.
But I give social media the professional me. Not my personal life. I don't owe them that. I owe them my career because that's what my page is about. My page is not personal.
Well, we want to know your personal life, though. Who is Derickus? He's blushing, y'all. Y'all can't see, but I know you can feel it.
Because this is the thing. It's not about giving them the personal. It's the why.
Why do I want to know?
Well, I'm not just saying you. I'm just speaking in general because sometimes it's just like people want to know who you are so that they can count they can start adding things up. And my thing is this.
Derickus,
Yeah.
that's a little paranoia, isn't it? Come on
It's
now.
not.
Maybe we just want to get to know you.
Let's go back to this. Let's look at social media. We brought up social media.
Okay.
And think about it. Now you think about it, because this is unknowingly. Think about when you're going up and your thumb is scrolling on, and you're deciding who you're going to go to as a hairstylist. And are you going to go? And I'm not saying nothing wrong, because I know we living in a new world of being you, being real, and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? We've lost the professionalism. And so what I get is that a lot of women who are coming to me from all around the world is flying in. I'm like, hey, I know this person. They're like, yeah, but they're not professional. People would pay for professionalism because we've lost that in the industry. Yeah. It's gotten so superstarish. It's gotten so personal, and it's got so keeping it real that do you really want keeping it real from the person that you're going to pay your money to? Yeah. You really don't want that.
Right.
Now you're sitting in there all day. They skipping you. They're not respecting your time, not respecting you. Your hair's half done. You're not happy. But this is the person that you wanted.
Yeah.
And so with me, I have to grow, and I have to make sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do so that God can keep blessing me.
That's right.
Not keeping it real. I keep it real when I'm not on the clock.
Yeah. I got you. Because I remember a day now. We been there all day. Yeah. With Derickus. I'm like, wait a minute, Derickus, what?
And that wasn't even me. I don't think I've ever been in a place of keeping it real.
That was you what? What would you call that? You just didn't care.
It wasn't that I didn't care. It's that I had to learn. I was doing something that I didn't know how to do. I was running a business. When you get into this, a lot of hairstylists, you got to look at it like this. A lot of us hairstylists, we're running a business. We went to hair school. We didn't go to business school. We didn't know how to. We don't know how to manage. When you corporate, they teach you how to manage your time. Right. You have to be there at this time. You have to clock out. You have to take breaks. You don't get this training being a hairstylist. You learn how to make money. You learn how to make people look good, but you don't learn how to manage time. Heck, you barely know how to manage your time alone, because the average hairstylist is not balanced.
Right.
You know, they're overworked. And when we come together, we talk about this. So how can we manage other people's time when we can barely manage ours? And it took years for me to mature, to grow, and to get out of myself. Yeah. You know, and really, really start to see this business as this is my career. This is not a hobby. Because you do know, like, these kind of careers can easily be like your hobby too, because your passion is in it.
That's right. That's good. That's real good. So let's talk about, you know, some of you being real. You and I have had conversations about it not always being sunny side up for you. And a lot of people, I think, and the reason I even bring up social media and Instagram is that when we see these figures and we see people and we look at their Instagram page, it's like, oh my God, he's living a life. He's traveling. He does Fantasia's hair. He's got the perfect kind of life everybody wants to have. But it has not always been that way. And so let's talk about, you know, how you got to that point where you said, you know what, Janine, it was a point where I was so low, I didn't even know if I wanted to be here anymore. Can you talk about that, and how did you transition out of it?
Listen, I started off from walking, not knowing how I was going to make it, not having a car, not even sometimes knowing where I was going to live. I moved out from my mom. I moved out of my mom's house because me and her, the guy she was dating, was just not getting along. I moved out 2 months before I graduated. I remember on my way to my graduation, I heard Kurt Franklin's song, "We Are Conquerors." Started crying out in the car because I made it to my graduation, just barely. Wow. You know, got out of graduated from high school and moved in with one of my aunts. I stayed with her for a little bit, trying to pursue a hair career. She wanted me to get a real job, and I was trying to pursue this hair career. And I remember I questioned her faith because my aunt went to church every night. It's so funny how you can admire somebody so much from afar until you're in their personal space, and now you start to see who they really are. Yeah. And so I had an aunt that went to church, and I don't fake when it comes to these stories because this is real stuff. I had an aunt that went to church every single day, you know, but faith was just not there. But going to church was like getting high. This is what you do. This is traditional. You know, me exercising church was a faith walk for me because I didn't have much. I didn't have a car. I was barely making it, you know. Wow. And so I remember I questioned her faith, and she got mad at me. The worst thing you could do is question a church person's faith, especially when they're going every night because they think they're more special than everybody else. And And she told me I had to be out that Friday. I stood in her, brave and strong, said, okay, went in the bathroom and started crying and said, God, what am I supposed to do now? I ain't had nobody else to call. I called my father, who I didn't have a relationship with. He let me come in and stay with him. He was staying with his girlfriend, 2 kids. She was miserable with my father. My father wasn't really being faithful to her. He was gone all the time. You know, money was low. So I started doing hair there, helping her bring money in. Still didn't have a car. Still was walking, riding a bus. My Aunt V that you know, one day, that was like my saving grace, called me and asked me to come work with her.
Wow.
I started off riding a bus down there every single day, sitting on the bus, literally looking at cars, crying. But I was crying with the faith, like, one day that's going to be my car. One day that's going to be my car. You know, I did it. And so that's why I tell people that even though you might feel depressed, you might cry, you still keep moving. Those feelings are going to come. I would be a fool to sit up here and tell you right now, don't go into those spaces. Don't go. They're going to happen, whether I tell you to or not.
That's right.
But you have to keep moving in spite of how you feel. And so my aunt one day asked me, hey, why don't you just stay with me? I'm like, oh my God, I thought you would never ask. Oh, wow. Moved in with her. She put me back in hair school, and then things started lifting up. Before you know it, I had a car, my first place, sleeping on the floor. I didn't even care. I was just glad to have a place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so, you know, my life started taking off. Before you know it, I was opening up a salon. Things was going well. Fantasia had become one of my clients. I've worked for a lot of different companies. Boom, out of nowhere, lost everything. Everything. I was back with my Aunt V where I started. Everything. Back down to a depression. Back feeling like I couldn't make it. I couldn't take it. Getting up every single morning, wanting to kill myself. And I had never been there before. I had got so low that I didn't even want to be here no more. And this is the same Derickus that goes to church, that believes in God, that pray. And so that's why I tell people, don't be so judgmental over things that you don't know. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Because what I realized that God needed me to go into some places, because if you ever want God to use you, you have to experience, you have to become kin to these things that I was judgmental over. I'm not so judgmental over no more. And it could be just something that's little, little as me waking up looking for a shirt. You know, it's one thing to never have, but it's another thing to have and then have it taken away. And then you still got to go and be a leader. You still got to wake up and be a parent. You still got to be a pastor or whatever. And you're going through all these things. This is why social media has to be careful when you're putting your mouth on people.
That's right.
It's just like Apostle Paul in the Bible. God was preparing Saul to be Apostle Paul. You don't know who God is preparing to do something great. So that's why in order to be something great, you have to have experienced it. That's why a lot of preachers get up and preach down on these subjects, because they've never been there. They're speaking from a place that they've never felt, you know. And so it's different when you've been there. You wanted to commit suicide. You're depressed. You can't hear God. You can't feel God. And this whole season, I went through all this stuff just feeling like God had left me and that I would never hear from God again, only to, when God finally spoke, he asked me this: you made it this far. People still treat you the same. People still invite you up to the front. And I was mad about those things because I felt like people didn't recognize what I was going through. And God was like, I've been trying to show you that you're more than the stuff. I can take everything away from you and people will still see who you are. Wow. The devil should have killed me when he had a chance. Oh my God. Because now stuff don't make me. It doesn't matter what I drive. It doesn't matter who I am, what my sexual preference is, and all that kind of stuff. I know who I am in Christ. And when you know who you are, nobody can't tell you who you are. Most people are feeling some kind of way because somebody has labeled you. Right. You have to command that and don't allow people to label you. If you know who you are, nobody can't tell you who you are.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I just had, where's the collection plate?
See, you can't talk like that unless you've been through it. You can't make this kind of stuff up.
You can't do it. No, because that's real passion, and that's real. Just coming from the gut of what you've experienced. Yeah. And that's so neat, and people need to hear that. I think we are in a climate, in a time where people are hungry for inspiration.
Yes, and imagine all the stuff I told you. Now, what if I would have posted something and everybody would have started attacking me? I'm already in a low place, trying to do the best I can to build myself up with my business. Can you imagine somebody getting on social media trying to attack me, and I'm just
You're already
a minute
at a low
away,
point,
just because I got on an outfit, This is stuff I inquired before I went through, and now this is the only thing that is keeping me with a little bit of peace. So you got to be careful or who you putting your mouth on, because you never know who God is preparing for something greater.
Well, he's clearly has prepared you. And I think, and a lot of you guys, of course, don't know this, but Derickus and I had a few times when we couldn't seem to get this podcast together. This is like our third time trying to do it.
But I think by far this is the best one.
Yeah, I think, timing is everything, and everything happens for a reason. So let's switch gears a little bit, and thank you for your honesty, too. Let's talk hair.
Let's talk hair.
Your business is booming. So you've been a salon owner, business owner, entrepreneur for how many years now?
Going on 16 years.
16 years. Yeah. And so I remember when you had the big shop, you had like 20 hairstylists. How many?
20 hairstylists, done that for 15 years.
And so now, tell me where it is.
When the pandemic first started, I about lost my mind. I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
And I wasn't only thinking for me. I'm thinking about my assistants.
I know.
I'm thinking about the staff. Like, how are we going to make it? Like, what's going on? And it's funny that fear will push you into a different place with God. And so I started.
Amen to that.
I'm trying to tell you, fear will push you into a different prayer. It'll push you into a different cry. It'll push you into a different praise. And I started seeking God differently because I didn't have no answers. And guess what? Nobody had answers because we'd never been here before. That's right. And so everybody was saying what they think, how they felt was going on and what they think, but none of us had never been here before.
Right, that's right.
And so this was my time to sit and get quiet. And when I got quiet, I started really asking God, like, what do I supposed to be doing next? And I think I needed this reset because I think T.D. Jakes talked about getting stuck on the steps. And before the pandemic, I think I was stuck on the steps because one step looked better than the next. You could think that's it, but there's still more growth that you have to go. And so I started praying, and in the spirit, God told me, this is a move. I want you to move. And so when everybody was doing all these lives and talking, I was getting quiet. And the more quieter I got, the more I could hear God so clear. And it became it became weird because I'm like, God, you want me to move in the middle of a pandemic?
No, right? It seemed
like,
crazy.
You want me to, yes.
That's what he has you do,
and
though.
So I started, it got on me so bad, Janine, that going back was just not an option.
Yeah.
I mean, everything in me. And so what I started to do was call people that I kind of trust with business, that I know that have faith, not just anybody, people I know that would jump faith and tell them, and I started telling them, like, God is telling me to move, and everybody just thought it was the worst idea ever. But what I learned is that we got to stop trying to get people to validate something that God has already put in your spirit.
Because so you already know, right?
And that's why God gave it to you. He gives it to you.
That's
but
right.
What happened is that we need people to go with us. Like Moses needed Aaron, and Aaron made it so bad for Moses, cost him problems. And so I was trying to get people to validate what God had put in my spirit, and people didn't believe in what I was trying to do. And so I had to stop talking and believe it for myself. And so I started making moves. I started doing it. And I started putting in the work. I remember when I was looking for a new spot, I put in the work so hard that I knew I had to put in the work. I put in the work for 3 weeks straight, getting up in the morning, getting up at night. Me and my assistant Stephen, we would go, look. I wasn't finding nothing. And I remember one day I came home and I looked out the window and I started boohooing, crying. And I said, God, I know I heard a move.
Right. Like, when's the move popping off?
When is it popping off? And I'm putting in the work.
Right.
You know, because some people just pray and wait. Listen, I prayed and put in the work.
That's right.
But it still wasn't happening.
That's right.
But I realized there's this thing, and I want everybody to hear this. Sometimes God will have us to do things in a certain order so that we can give other people instructions. He could just do it, but what are you going to tell somebody else? So I prayed this prayer that I remembered that I used to pray when I got the first line. I got on my knees that night and I said, Lord, while I'm sleeping, work on me so that when I wake up in the morning, I'll know who to call, where to go, which directions. I'll just know. You forget you prayed that prayer. I woke up the next morning and my distributor was on my mind. And I called him because he just would not get off my mind. I called him and I jokingly said to him, I said, hey, if you know anybody that's closing their salon, I say, let me know because I'm looking for a spot. I said, I believe somebody's going to close down so I can open up. And he said, hold on, I'm going to call you right back. And he called me back and he said, I know a lady that's shutting down. She hadn't told nobody. He said, this will be perfect for you. So I was supposed to go and see her. On my way home, that enemy gets mean with you. And it had distracted me again. And I had gotten to a low again. I said, you know what? I'm just going to get me a suite and just call it a day. Right before I got ready to turn into my driveway, Daryl called me and he said, hey, she said you never came by. And I said, well, I said, yeah, because it's all too much. I'm tapping out. I'm telling you, you start to tap out. And so I'm being honest.
No, this is real though.
See, people always talk the faith, but you start to tap out.
Oh, absolutely.
And I decided to go ahead and drive over there. And as soon as I turned in the parking lot, I was like, I know this is it. This is it. I got out and looked in there. I was like, this is it. And everything just started moving. Everybody was asking me, how are you going to get out of your lease? How are you going to get out of your lease? How are you going to get out of your lease?
God worked all that out, didn't
God worked it out. And this is why you have to move when God say move. You can't sit. You can't wait. You can't wait on people. Nobody can leave who's supposed to play a part. If you need them, they cannot leave. So what am I saying? If they leave, let them go. Don't try to keep nobody that is trying to go. God will never allow something to leave that you need. That's right. And so the hardest thing for me to do was to let go of some people that I know I needed to let go of.
That was something you needed to work on.
Yes. Yeah. And I couldn't sleep one night. I remember after I signed the lease and everything, I couldn't sleep one night, and I went and prayed, and I said, God, this is a happy moment. Why do I feel so heavy? Mm-hmm. He said, because you let go of the building, but you hadn't let go of the people. Ooh. And that night, I made up my mind I was going to call everybody, and I was either asking you to come or to go.
Oh, that mercy.
And that was the hardest part of this whole journey. I had to let go of some people. Yeah. And God had already showed me. I knew in my heart. God didn't even have to show me who I need to let go. I knew who was making it hard for me.
That's right.
But it's almost like it's like a sickness that we keep trying to bring people that we know is not good for us.
Yeah. We all do it. Yes. We all do it.
Because we have something in mind. And the biggest, if I had to give anybody advice in this next season, it would be maybe you need to let go of what you already have in mind.
Just the concept.
Yes.
That's good.
Because when you already have something in mind, it's hard to hear God.
Now you're limiting him.
Yes. Because you already know what you want it to look like, where you want it to be. And God is saying, I'm trying to do something bigger, but your mind is small. And so you have to challenge yourself to let go what you are. The plan might be the problem.
Okay. Now that's part two.
Because this wasn't planned.
Right.
If you would have asked me, you've been to the salon. I'm not just saying this, but I'm speaking from what God has done. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. God has really blessed me. Mm-hmm. But this was not in the plan, Janine. Yeah. It wasn't.
I know. So
I had to let go of my plan for his. Maybe I was in the way.
That's right.
My plan was in the way.
Your plan was in the way. Oh, that's so good. I'm going to use that, just so you know. You hear that on the radio tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, let go of your plans. Start thinking, is my plan in a way?
The thing is because I'm so driven and precise with my plan. I'm like an organized detail freak. So I'm like, no, on this date.
You have no room for faith.
6 months.
You have no room for faith.
You. I hear you.
Because your plan is taken over, so faith will step aside.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're meeting today. This was for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Oh my God. And know this, it's for me too, because I don't have it all together. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when I do interviews like this and I hear myself speak, my ears hear my mouth.
I know. You're ministering yourself.
Yeah. And so sometimes you got to use what God did before in your life to move on you now. Your testimony can motivate your future.
Whew. Okay. So, I mean, actually, I can talk like another hour or so. We're at our cutoff time, but this is my podcast. I can talk as long as I want to.
That's right.
All right. Let me ask you a couple other questions.
Go ahead.
Do you want a family?
I have a family. It's just not the traditional way that people see family. Mm-hmm. I got my sister have 5 girls.
You got a family.
Let me tell you, my assistant Steven, that's like my oldest son.
It's like your oldest son.
Fantasia, that's like one of my. I have a group of people around me, and I think sometimes in the past I kept trying to see my life in a traditional manner, but
it's not.
It's not. So I have a family, the salon, and all the people that love me and that show me that they care and that take care of me, and I have a family.
The salon is growing. Do you want it to grow in terms of a franchise? Do you want to have more hairstylists? Of course, you want your hair product line to grow. Talk to me about what some of your goals are.
So, with the people get up on stage and talk, because, like now I have this thing where I say, that's good stage talk, but it's not good reality talk.
Okay.
you know, and I want to say this, to be honest with you, at this point in my life, I don't know what my next plans are because I've opened my mind up. Because the things that God has been doing with me has really been blowing. I think I've stepped into eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard, nor have it entered into the heart the things that God is going to do in my life. And I think I've walked into that door.
Yeah.
And so because I feel like I walked into that door, I'm open. I'm open for whatever God. And so now my prayers have changed to God, do A, B, C, D, to now, God, whatever you see
want,
fit for my life.
That's what I want.
I'm willing. That's what I want. And now my eyes are open and my ears can hear and I can see like I need to. So I'm open, like whatever. I won't say what I do and don't want to do. I really do trust God for the next steps of my life. I really do. Because I didn't see I'm not even going to lie. I would be a lie to get up here and say, oh, I felt like I was going to be this successful all my life. And because I did A, B, and C, and I saved up and I wrote it down and I had this, that's not my way. I didn't believe sometimes.
That's right.
I had to cry myself to sleep sometimes. Sometimes I was trying to figure out, but guess what? I still made it. And God wanted me to be a part of that testimony, is that even though I still made it.
Woo, honey. Yes. Well, Derickus, I mean, as usual, I mean, and this, for you guys who are listening, this is what I experience when I go get my hair done. It's an experience, really. Like, I get my hair done and it's fly and all that. But what happens before the hairdo is complete is the thing that is most rewarding for me.
You know, I'm not a small talk kind of guy, but if there's a opportunity for me to encourage you, I don't care what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't care what the protocol is. They'll tell you, I have plenty of classes that I've done. I don't care what the assignment is. When I get up there and God tell me to move a certain kind of way, that's what I'm going to do.
And that's what you did today. Thank you. I know you didn't think you didn't think you were going to be talking about any of this to this degree, but I appreciate it.
I didn't know what I was going to be talking about, but when I went to the bathroom, I prayed and I said, God, less of me and more of you.
Yes. And you know what? I didn't even know what I was going to ask you. I really didn't. Like, I just jotted down some questions last night, and I said, Janine, just talk. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, I'm passionate.
I just wanted to be honest.
I'm passionate about people, and I don't always like these interviews and stuff. They make me nervous. I don't care how many times I do them, whether it's in live. It makes me nervous because I want to touch people, and so it has to be less of me. It really does. And I don't always have it together. But what's most important to me is people. And that's what I admired about Jesus so much, because when you study Jesus, people were important. He broke laws, traditions, and principles to save people. And now we won't do any of that. All those things are more important than people. And this is why we're in this pandemic that we're in. When we start back loving one another, caring, showing up, genuinely supporting,
that's right,
then the land will be healed.
Yeah, I believe that. How can people reach you?
People can reach me, DerickusCrawford.com. That's my website. Of course, the salon. I changed the name of the salon to Derickus Crawford Signature Salon.
I like it.
God made me do that. It's so funny how I didn't believe in myself enough. At one point, I didn't think that anybody would want to work in a salon with my name on it. So I didn't. I'm just being honest with you.
I mean, all right.
And then at some point, no matter what the name of the salon was, people always said I worked at Derickus Salon. So God was building up some things in me, and it might not have been for me. It might have been for somebody else. And so now it took years for me to start believing and standing on my name.
Stand on it, honey. Stand on your name. Ladies and gentlemen, Derickus Crawford. Thank you, Derickus. I appreciate you.
Inspired by this edition of Yes, Honey.
Yes, honey.
Catch this and other Yes, Honey podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple. And you can follow JD on social media at JD Diva on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter at JD Diva 10.
You are now officially my aunt, a radio. Oh, my God.
Yes, honey. Like and subscribe to my YouTube, Janine Davis.